In the previous session, we began to arrive at an initial understanding of what it means to live a contemplative way of life. In this session, I'll be continuing to develop this initial understanding by way of focusing on the final segment of the quote by Merton about the cosmic dance. He ended the quote by speaking of the need for us to forget ourselves on purpose, to cast our awful solemnity to the winds, and to join in the general dance. It seems here, and this will get clearer, I think, as we go along through these sessions, that here in these phrases are two hints as to just how the contemplative path unfolds. That it unfolds as we learn to divest ourselves of a way of understanding and experiencing ourselves that is ultimately based on an illusion of being autonomously real apart from God and apart from God's love for us. And as we divest ourselves from this illusion, we are awakened to the mystery that was always there, which is the mystery that beats in our very blood, the mystery of the God-given godly nature of the life that we're living. What makes this transformative process so difficult and challenging is that we are invested in clinging to the illusion about ourselves. And we are so precisely because we still tend to think the illusion is real. We tend to think we are who we think we are. That is, we tend to think we are our ideas of ourselves. But the extraordinary thing about moments of contemplative experience is that who we tend to think we are is delightfully dissolved. And in these moments, we discover that we're not at all who we think we are. That it isn't that we're not who we feel that we are. It's not that we're not who we think we are. We are not just who we think we are. We are not just who we feel that we are. And it is that not just that is the contemplative dimension. And although you would think that once we had a glimpse of that, we would stay in the freedom of it. We don't. There was a student in one of my classes in graduate school who described a neurotic as someone who holds on to a hot stove, but who's afraid to let go because they think if they let go, they won't get any dinner. That is, it burns like blazes, but we're afraid to let go of that which torments us because we believe that which is tormenting us is that which allows us to survive. Deeper still, that which torments us is foundational to who we are. So to let go, I must be willing to risk ceasing to be who I tend to think I am. But as we let go of our illusions about ourselves, the unitive mystery in which we and God are forever one begins to manifest itself. It is this unitive mystery that is referred to in Chuang-Tzu's reference to the Palace of Nowhere. When Chuang-Tzu says, "Come with me to the Palace of Nowhere where all the many things are one," he's inviting us to the transformative path along which we come to realize the endless, eternal, flowing nature of the concreteness of life itself. This directly carries over into Merton's insights into the nature of who we contemplatively realize ourselves to be one with God. That the Palace of Nowhere is a poetic metaphor for the unitive mystery contemplative experience realizes. And what I'd like to do in this session is sketch in the horizon within which this path unfolds, a kind of preview of coming attractions. Because I think anytime we embark on a journey, if we can have some initial sense of what lies ahead, it helps us enter into the journey with greater confidence and greater assurance, especially in the light of the fact that the journey is such that the things which may be the most disconcerting to us may in actual fact be the very indicators that we're on the right path. And so I'd like to walk through some salient characteristics of this path of self-transformation. And the guiding principle of these reflections is going to be that of the revelatory nature of our moments of spontaneous contemplative experience, played out just a step further in realizing that the way contemplative experience goes is the way reality goes. That is, in a moment of spontaneous contemplative experience, turning to see a flock of birds descending or seeing a child at play, we fleetingly glimpse the way reality really is. So I'm now going to draw again from these moments characteristics of these moments, which shed light on what life starts to look like as that awareness becomes more and more our habitual way of experiencing our day-by-day life. And this then creates a kind of sketch or a picture of the path that lies ahead. There's a kind of parenthesis around all of this in realizing, again, that we're speaking of what is ultimately known only in the experience of it. That is, we're creating hints and guesses of realities which become clear only insofar as we ourselves travel on the path we're talking about. But still, realizing the limitations of these types of images, they can be helpful. And in the light of that, then, I'd like to share some of these, drawing upon references to Thomas Merton, and still drawing from the primary text of the Cosmic Dance. The first characteristic, which is one that was mentioned in the previous session, is that of serendipitously stumbling upon a holiness already in progress. You're out walking along through the woods, out in the midst of nature. You turn to see a flock of birds descending. Your heart's quickened with a visceral sense of the inherent holiness of the bird's descent. And you intuitively realize that the holiness to which you are privileged to participate is a holiness that has already begun. It has begun long before this awakening to it. And that if you were to look back to try to find the origins of this holiness, you could not find the origins. The origins are hidden from us in what the Buddhists refer to as the beginningless beginnings of all things, which is referred to in the Christian tradition as all reality eternally arising from the eternal love of God. What's simultaneously so amazing about this already perfectly holy nature of the present moment is that this present moment is the manifestation of that which has already begun in its virginal newness. I'm fortunate enough to live at the ocean, at the beach. And when I get up in the morning and go out on the porch and I look at the ocean, I don't look out and say, same old ocean, boring, boring, boring. Someone who's privileged to live in the mountains and looks out at the mountains, they don't go same old mountains, boring, boring, boring. There's the intuition that the longer you gaze upon it, the more you realize there is to gaze upon. And you could never exhaust what you're gazing upon because it's inexhaustible. This is the inexhaustible nature of the beginningless beginnings to which we are awakened in our moments of spontaneous contemplative experience. Now, Merton says that the very fact you are seeking God means that you have already found God, or truer still, God has already found you. There is, it seems to me, profound implications to letting ourself become more and more aware of the already begun nature of the mystery to which we are awakened. Namely, it fills us with a sense of awe and with a sense of gratitude. And it fills us with a sense of liberation from the need to fabricate anything, produce anything, acquire anything, attain anything, by means of which we are going to reach our goal. For all that is required of us is all that has already been given to us in the mystery that has already begun from before beginningless beginnings. So this then, it seems, is one characteristic of the path that lies ahead. It's an ever more habitual, intimately realized awareness of the grace nature of everything that eternally arises and grants itself to us as a mystery that has already begun. If we look back at our own life, we realize that we could not have planned it if we tried. And at the very center of the mystery of our own unfolding story is the awakening of a desire for a spiritual fulfillment that has brought us up to this very moment. A second characteristic of moments of contemplative experience, which provide intimations of the nature of the path ahead, again, a characteristic which was mentioned earlier, and that is the characteristic of the yearning that arises in the passing of moments of contemplative awakening. For as the moments pass, they leave within our hearts an empty place. And it is this empty place that becomes palpable to us, that is so much a part of the texture of the path that leads us to our heart's fulfillment. Thomas Merton once said that whenever I want something very much and I finally get it, it burns me. Because I realize in getting it, here it was just one more thing that I wanted very much. And I put it in the garage with all the other things that I wanted very much. And then I start wanting something else very, very much. And then it starts dawning on me that none of these things that I want very, very much will fulfill the longing within my heart. This is the great gift, is being awakened to the radically unsatisfactory nature of everything less than infinite love to fulfill us. And yet the very gift of that realization is what places us in solitude. In that there is no thing, there is no person, there is no circumstance which will fulfill our hearts. And then alone in the contemplative awakening of our heart, we move along a path in which we discover oneness with God in everything, discover oneness with God in everyone, discover oneness with God in every situation.
This concludes CD 1 of Thomas Merton's Path to the Palace of Nowhere with James Finley. We continue with CD 2.